you have your Bibles this morning, go to Galatians chapter 6. Galatians chapter 6. We've been talking lately, over the last couple of months, about being essential. How we as Christians are essential to the spreading of the gospel message. How we are essential witnesses in this world. Being the ones who have the burden to take the message of Christ wherever we go. We know that in the first chapter of Acts, Jesus told the apostles that they would be his witnesses in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. And they did it. And now it's our job. We are essential to the spread of the gospel. And I want to finish up this morning's sermon. If you have your outline with you, please get one if you don't have it. And I want to finish up this series this morning about being essential. And I've entitled this morning's message, Staying Soft-Hearted. Staying soft-hearted. You know, when we go out and spread the message and we live for Christ and we try to be the Christian Christ wants us to be, we do it in various ways, through preaching and teaching and mentoring and serving and disciple-making and just loving people. That's how we help spread the message of the gospel. And I want to take some time this morning in closing to address a little bit of a need for us to do some caring for our own souls. To do a little bit of self-care this morning in our own spiritual walk. You know, it's easy for us as we are going along and serving others and caring for others to get down in our own souls. It's easy for us to get worn down in our own souls. Have you ever been there? Are you there today? What I mean is, are you in that place, or have you been in that place where you feel like you're becoming indifferent to the world around us because of the evil and all the stuff that's going on? We feel like in our souls, well, why do I have to keep going? What difference does it make? Why do I have to be the witness? Why do I have to be the one? Maybe you're in that place, or you've been in that place where you just feel spent emotionally and spiritually. That place where maybe we just want to return to the world the same attitude they're throwing our way. That's a bad place to be in, especially if you are a Christian. Even if we feel like we're getting kicked around and beat down, it is essential for us to keep the heart of Christ and not fall back into that despair and that indifference. Moses, David, many other Bible characters experienced that crushing, that soul-crushing feeling in their life. They just felt like everybody was against them and they just wanted to give up. But even in those moments, David said this in Psalm chapter 18 and verse 6, "But in my distress, I cried out to the Lord, and he heard me." When he was down, he wasn't where he was supposed to be. And what did he do? He cried out to the Lord to help take care of his own soul. We can't be a good witness for the Lord if we are allowing our hearts to harden in the world that we live in today. We will never spread the gospel message if we allow our hearts to become hard to the things going on around us, to the point that as Christians, we are a reflection of the society around us. We can't be a good witness if we look the same as the world. And what I mean is this: the world tries to convince us that every single one of us have to become hard in order to survive and to get through. The world tries to convince us that we need to be indifferent and callous if we're going to survive. We cannot allow ourselves to mimic that behavior, because it isn't the heart of Christ that we're then acting on. Amen. If we do that, then we lose our identity in Christ. And we become ineffective, and then we become ungodly. We have to stay soft-hearted in a world that tries to make us hard-hearted. If you want to follow along your outline today, point number one, this is a pretty obvious statement. The world will try to harden us. The world will try to harden us. How do we let the world harden us? It's really not that difficult, is it? When we're out there serving others and trying to be that light in the world, we're trying to be that witness wherever we go. How does the world try to harden us? The world tries to harden us when we get burned. Have you ever served and loved somebody and then got burned for it? They don't return the favor. They don't show that gratefulness. They don't come back to you. Or maybe you're out there trying to serve and love and do what Christ wants us to do. We get embarrassed. We get embarrassed and we say, well, I'm not going to get embarrassed again. Maybe we do so much for people that we start feeling emotionally and physically and financially and spiritually exhausted. And we just kind of get in that moment where we're just like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. Or we're out there serving and loving and trying to help others and serve and be that witness. And then somebody drags our name through the mud and starts talking about us. What do we do when things like that happen? We start throwing those walls up, don't we? We start saying to ourselves, well, I'm not going to let that happen again. Or I'm not going to let myself get treated that way again. And we throw those walls up. We do good, and then we feel like we've been tossed aside. And we throw up those walls, and we start getting a little bit more hard-hearted the next time somebody comes around. In Luke 17, Jesus enters a village in the Galilee-Samaria area. And 10 men with leprosy come running up to Jesus. Yikes, leprosy. And here's what they say as they're crying for help. Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. That's what they say to Jesus. And you know what Jesus does? In his soft-hearted nature, he does what he's supposed to do. He tells these 10 men with leprosy, go show yourself to the priests. And by the time they get to the priest, guess what? All their leprosy is gone. They're healed up. Guess how many came back and thanked Jesus? 1. 9 out of 10, help us, Master. Well, he helps them, and they just go about their business. They don't even come back and thank Jesus for what he did, healing them, saving their lives. I can imagine that would be a little frustrating for Jesus, can't you? It might be in that moment where Jesus could have said, you know what, I'm not going to help or heal anybody else. But that's not what he did. But that's what happens to us is when we help somebody. Maybe we feed somebody. Maybe we buy them some clothes, or we do this, or we do that, and they don't come back and thank us, or they don't really show any gratefulness, and we get burned. And we say to ourselves, well, why am I helping this person? We throw those walls up and we say, well, I'm not going to let that happen again. It's in those times that Satan uses against us to harden our hearts a little bit. When we do serve, we go out trying to be a witness and we get burned, or we get embarrassed, or we feel like we've been taken advantage of, and we start hardening our hearts, and we become a little less Christ-like in the process. Think about it. Have you ever had that little inner voice say to you, well, you helped that person, and they weren't very grateful. You know what you need to do? Don't do that again. You spent your last $20 on somebody that didn't even say thank you, wasn't even grateful. You know what? Save that $20 for yourself. I'm not going to help anybody ever again. Or you go out there and you help somebody, and you get the little voice say, you know what? They took advantage of you because you're so soft-hearted. Harden up a little bit. Don't ever do that again. That's us. Hardening our hearts. And that's what Satan wants us to do. That's what the world wants us to do. Become a little bit hard-hearted. But I ran across this verse, one of my favorite verses in all the Bible, Romans 12:2. What does it say? Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world. That's the NIV. The New Living Translation says this. Don't copy the behavior and customs of the world. While everybody else is out there hardening their hearts, the Bible says don't conform to that pattern and don't copy their behavior. The world wants to harden us. But Christ says no. Keep that soft heart. Don't look like the world. Don't act like the world. Don't harden your hearts. Don't become like them. Don't become like the unbelieving world. You see, that's what Satan wants for us. Be like the world. The Bible says no. Don't conform to that pattern. Don't become like them. You see, some Christians do it and have done it. They allow themselves to become hard-hearted to the point that there's no room for Christ-like behavior because you know what? They don't want to get burned, or they're exhausted, or they're tired, or they feel underappreciated, and they say, I'm not going to be that way anymore. The world tries to harden us. That's not what we're called to do. In fact, we're called to do the opposite. Point number 2 this morning. Never skip an opportunity. Galatians chapter 6, verses 9 and 10 said this. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. Now, you've heard me ask this question many times in Bible study. Why is something mentioned in the Scriptures? Because it is important. It's important. And if the Apostle Paul writes for the Christians not to become weary in doing good, then it is important. You see, we can't be the example of showing Christ-like love and being soft-hearted like Christ if we skip the opportunity to do that. If we walk right past it. Luke chapter 10 tells us the parable of the Good Samaritan who was stripped and beaten and robbed. This Jewish man was stripped and beaten and robbed and left for dead. Here comes this Samaritan who wasn't even supposed to help him. And what does it say that the Samaritan did? The Samaritan stopped. He soothed the man's wounds, bound him up, cared for him, put him on his donkey, took him into town, cared for him, and then when he left the guy there and said, take care of him, and whenever you're out, I'll reimburse you when I come back through. One of the lessons of this parable, besides compassion, is opportunity. Seizing the opportunity. In life, we never know what opportunity is going to be presented right in front of our faces. We don't have any idea. And if we want to try to remain soft-hearted and have the heart of Christ, then we cannot skip an opportunity to do good to those around us. We can't skip the opportunity. Never get so callous that we gloss over the ministry of helping. You know, we talk about sharing the gospel. Hey, maybe we can't preach, teach, and sing a song, but every single one of us can help. And we can show love to our brothers and sisters, and even those that we don't know. How much should we do then? How much should we do when we don't skip an opportunity? How many opportunities do we need to take advantage of? Well, Ephesians 2 tells us that you and I were created in Christ, guess what? To do good works. So I assume as I read that whatever we have to do, whenever we have to do it, whenever we can do it, guess what? We should do it. Don't skip the opportunity. Lift others up. Love others. Pray for others. Feed others. Rescue others if they need it. Be that person for the others. Don't let the world harden us so much that we say that I'm not going to help my brother and sister in need. Or even a stranger in need. But there are so many people who have become so hard-hearted, they don't want to do that. You know, the worst thing we can do is be cold-hearted to the point that we see, but we don't act. You know the parable of the Good Samaritan? Two people saw, and they walked on the other side of the road, just ignored it. That's that hard-heartedness that the world breeds in people. We're not to be that way. James chapter 2, verses 15, 16, and 17 say this. Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes or daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, what is it? It's dead. It's dead. A lot of people trying to go through this world, Christians trying to go through this world with that hard heart, wearing those blinders in life. James 4:17, anyone then who knows the good he ought to do and doesn't do it, sins. May we never skip an opportunity. Never skip an opportunity to serve. Even when we've been burned, even when we've been used, when we've been embarrassed, or we've been taken advantage of. Don't skip the opportunity. Point 3 this morning, the reason we can't skip the opportunity is because this world has got to see a different kind of love coming out of us. They've got to see us being different. We've got to be different than the world. Maybe there are others out there who refuse to show compassion or mercy. Maybe so, but that can't be us. What the world must see out of us is love manifested in us being selfless. While everybody else is trying to be selfish, we got to be selfless. If we're acting selfishly, it's the fruit of the sinful nature. The Bible, Galatians 5 tells us we got to be different. We got to be selfless. We got to be sacrificial. Romans 12:1 wants to tell us, we know the scripture, offer yourselves as a living sacrifice. Offer yourself as a living sacrifice. And our service has to be salvation-oriented. Luke 6:27-36, Jesus talks about loving our enemies. And he goes on talking about the difference, how a different person may get asked to do different things. If you get insulted, turn the other cheek. If somebody asks you for your tunic, give your cloak, or vice versa. If somebody wants you to go 1 mile, go 2 miles with them. Whatever it may be. But he says, do all those things so it points people to God. That's why we do this. You've got to see something different out of us. The world's basis, it seems, for showing love or caring for somebody is reciprocity. In other words, they want you to think like, well, I'll do for you if you do for me. But if you don't do for me, then I'm not going to do anything for you. You see, the love of Christ wants us to show is the exact opposite. It doesn't matter what somebody can do for us. What can we do for them? How can we point them to the Lord? Maybe it's hard to show the different kind of love because we've just been burned so much we become callous that we don't want to do it anymore. We can't show love that way. That's the way the world operates. They're the ones that throw the walls up and shut the doors and say, well, you did this to me, I'm not going to do this for you anymore. We can't be that way. The world's got to see a different kind of love. You know, a few weeks ago, the adults on Wednesday night and the youth, we went to the park over here in Faulkner and we played kickball. Now, we need to see how well Rachel could kick the ball. She didn't kick anything. But some of them could kick it pretty good. And maybe the kids beat the adults. Maybe. They got lucky. They won't get lucky twice. But a few days later, Harvey will come up to me crying. I'm not playing kickball ever again. I'm not doing it ever again. My knee still hurts. I mean, he was limping and crying. I thought, oh my goodness. Well, he was tougher than that. But he said his knee hurt. I'm not doing that ever again, he says. I played it once, not doing it again. Then I had somebody else come up to me. If I didn't know we were playing kickball, I'd have wore my knee brace. My knee is sore. And a few others come up like, boy, my back hurts and my ankles hurt and all these things. And we're not doing that again. Because we did it and we're not doing it again. You'd have thought that kickball game was full contact. Afterward, it looked like The Walking Dead. People coming out limping and crying. Like a bunch of zombies walking. Oh my God. It was awful. And they said, I'm never doing that again because it hurt too much and I'm hurting too bad. It was crazy. But I say that to say this. There are a lot of people who have gone out and served and had that soft heart and they come out hurt. And they have this attitude of, I'm never doing that again. I'm never sticking my neck out again. I'm never going to serve that way again because when I did it, I got embarrassed, I got burned, I got hurt, they took advantage of me, they weren't appreciative, and I'm going to show them by hardening that heart, I'm not going to do it again. There are people, Christians, who take that view of their service. I used to do it, or I did it, and I got hurt, and I'm not going to do it anymore. We can't allow that to happen. As an essential part of spreading the gospel message, we can never get to the point where we say, I'm not going to serve the Lord that way anymore. Because I got hurt. Because I got burned. Because it hurt me to do that. In our Christian walk, as we serve others and we show that compassion and that soft heart, guess what? People are going to be ungrateful. I think every single one of us here can point to a time where we helped somebody in the love of Christ and they were ungrateful. Every one of us can probably say to ourselves, well, I did this for someone, and they hurt me after that. Every one of us can probably say, they didn't even get what I was trying to do for them. They just took advantage and took off on me. It's happened to every single one of us. So how should we respond? Should we close down and turn off that goodness and say, well, I'm not doing that no more? Like somebody that got hurt playing kickball, I'm not doing that no more. Is that how we should be? No. Satan wants us to become hard. But the Bible tells us, do not grow weary in doing good. And my encouragement today is not to let Satan make us hard. Resist the temptation to close off the compassion part of your life. Never skip an opportunity to do good. Because this world has to see goodness coming from somebody, and it needs to be the Christians. Amen. It needs to be us leading the charge. Because if we don't do it, who else is going to? Who else is going to point people to Christ? Not the unbelieving world. It's got to be the Christians. Don't give in and become like the world. Now more than ever, it is essential for us to move and operate with the heart of Christ no matter what. You got hurt, you got burned, you got taken advantage of, forgive and get over it. And go about doing the good that we've been called to do. Would you pray with me? Our Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning. Lord, we know that when we as a Christian are called upon to serve, we always run that risk of being taken advantage of and hurt, embarrassed, talked about. We know that, Father. And it's so easy for us to slip into that mode of shutting ourselves down, shutting our hearts off from the world and saying, you know, I've been hurt once, I don't want to have it happen again. And so we aren't as compassionate as we need to be. We're not as serve happy as we need to be. The Father's going to happen. How many times were you taken advantage of? People followed Christ just to get a free meal out of them, just to get healed, and went on about their business like the 10 lepers or the 9 lepers. They used Christ. Lord, they're going to use us. But may we continue to be the servants that we're called to be, having that soft heart of compassion, serving wherever there's an opportunity, showing the world the way of love. Lord, may we never grow weary in doing good. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.